Hello and welcome to DNBC TV, where we bring you interviews with inspiring businessmen and women from around the world. You can follow us on Instagram at DNBC TV channel. My name is Gloria Pollock, and today I'm going to interview Cornelio Campos. Cornelio Campos was born in Michoacán, Mexico. He became interested in art at the age of 8. After 10 years of struggle, Cornelio stopped painting, but now he's focused in 3 things: political issues, as immigration, Mexican folklore, and anthropological symbols from Mexico. Hello, Cornelio, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Well, the first question is, how do you educate yourself as an artist? What are your tools? What are your, if you have any course, how do you educate yourself?
Well, I started to draw and paint when I was at early age, probably 8, 9 years old. And how do I start? There was a professor in my hometown who every weekend was giving classes after the we attend church. So after church, outside in the pergola is where we had our classes, and it's how I got introduced to art. It wasn't a really kind of like an official class. It was any kid who wants to learn how to draw and how to paint, they can attend. It was no enrollment. You just show up the time when the teacher was there, and that was it. The other class, official class that I have is a basic drawing, and that was in Guadalajara. And that's the only official drawing that I have in my artist career. So pretty much I learned by observation. How observing the teacher, the one I'm talking about, his name is Panfilo Macías Rosas, and I give the credit to him to introduce me to art. So I don't have no formal education, but how do I teach myself? Pretty much by observation and visiting the museums or the artists while they working on whatever other art they're doing. And it's how I learn by observation pretty much.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. And who inspired you as an artist? Is there any person, any family member, or probably another artist that inspired you? Who inspired you?
Well, at early age was my professor. And after that was other students, because he also gave kind of like formal classes in a different city. And sometimes I went with him just to visit art class. Of course, at the moment was no student. All I can see is the artwork that they were, the artwork in progress of the other former students. And it's how I start to get inspired. Through the time and through the years, I do have, I think my main artist who inspired me, that was Jose Clemente Orozco, because I live in Guadalajara when I was 14, and I was exposed to his art, which has a lot of murals in Guadalajara. Especially, there is a cultural art center which is called Hospicio Cabañas, and it's an old convent or a church, and is full of his artwork. So that's how I get inspired. Of course, I have other artists, like I admire the work of Salvador Dali, and of course the 3 muralists from Mexico, Jose Clemente Orozco, Sequeiros, and Rivera. Those are kind of like my main artists who I get inspired from.
How do you manage your creative process? How is it? Like, you have an idea first, or you see something and then you start painting? How is it?
It works in different ways, but the most common way that works for me is, especially when I do some kind of like narrative artwork, a lot of times works like I had to process what I'm gonna paint, and I visualize first in my mind how I'm gonna do it, and pretty much I can like work in my mind how I'm gonna deliver it through my brushes into the canvas. And that process can take sometimes many years, sometimes can take only weeks, or it can take only minutes. A lot of times goes through the dreams. Sometimes certain dreams are really impact you, and then you feel like you would like to paint those dreams. So it depends. It can be a short or a long-term process in visualizing how you're going to approach the painting. But they all go pretty much through the same process.
Okay. And once you have the idea, once you visualize it in your mind, you start taking notes, you do like before the paint, you do like some notes and some draws before doing the paint, or how is it? Or you just go straight to paint in the camera?
I will say all the above. Some I do approach immediately, like straight to the canvas with a paint without sketch. And there are another ones the ones that take me long, I do have to make a sketch and pretty much make a collage of ideas before I do the full painting. And it can work in a different ways, but pretty much the ones you mentioned are the most common ways that I approach my paintings. And like I say, some I have to make a sketch, especially if it's kind of like a big, because I do make murals, and those are the ones that take kind of like long process, and more ideas, and I do more kind of like mental sketches for that, and also physical sketches.
And as you might know, there's not a lot of opportunities open for artists around the world. But what would you have to say as an advice to this young generation that is struggling with it, that is facing that? For example, in Mexico, there's not the same opportunities there than here. You were living there, and you know how is there living as an artist and how is living here as an artist. So what is your advice for these new generations that are struggling with it, that they are facing, that the situation is way different in each country?
Well, I think my advice for them is just keep up with persistent and consistent, and don't give up your dreams, because I know most of the artists who give up that I know, they get tired to wait something to happen with their art. And I know a lot of them, but if you love art, you just have to keep going and going. I know it's not easy, like you say, but one advice I can tell them in order to be a successful artist, if you have a way that you can take any kind of business class and marketing, those are the keys to be a successful. I know, like, for example, I didn't have a formal education, but if I have to start again, that's with the first thing I will start, because somehow you have at some point make a living from your art, and you have to know how to sell your art, and also you have to know how to promote your art. Even if you don't do it, at least you can advise the person who's gonna look for you those issues. And a lot of times it can make it or break the artist. No matter a lot of times how good you are, but if you don't have this in place, it's gonna be hard to be a successful artist. I had to learn that on the hard way, yes.
Some people, they want to see the balance between art and business. How do you see that balance? What is the balance that you give to art and business, and how do you handle it?
Well, for me personally, it was really hard, because as an artist, it's really hard to detach from something that you have created with all you have. And sometimes we give up our art, and sometimes we prefer to give it with a heart, even without compensation. But it's hard to keep up yourself as an artist if you're gonna give up or give free all your art. So it's a way that you can detach. Pretty much, I think the way you can see and how to balance this thing is kind of like thinking, well, you're going to figure out if the person who you're going to give the art is going to have and give the value that means for you this piece of art. And it's the same with the price, because a lot of times you feel like you are somehow not doing good when you sell your art because it's your creation, and then you might start to work with you and you feel guilty. But if you know the person is gonna take care of your art, I think that's the balance that you pretty much have to take as an artist, to detach the business and detach the art, or join the same.
So is it possible in these days live from art?
Yes, that it is possible, but even for that, you have to have the right connections. You have the right person, and yeah, you can live from art. And I think also it has to do with what city or what state in the United States you live, because some states are considered like craft states and not fine art states. Like, for example, I can say New York, Miami is considered a fine art states, California. But if you live in North Carolina, I know we have really well-known artists, but I guess in the marketing, it's still considered as a craft state and not a fine art state.
How do we know what states are? Is it just because they're big cities, or is there any way we can find out what states are like you say, craft states?
I think you can tell by the business, because if you go to, I've been in Florida several times and I see the prices, and it's no way you can sell a piece of art with that price in North Carolina unless you are a really well-known artist. So yeah, there is a difference. I don't know. I'm sure there is a way that you can find out, but I don't know how. But personally, is the way I find out, because I do have a lot of exhibits through different galleries here in North Carolina. Sometimes I go to Florida, not to sell my art, just to see and feel the view as an artist.
Who regulates this art business? Like, as an artist, okay, I have my paints and I want to get into the market, the art market. Who regulates it?
Well, it depends. You know, a lot of artists, they try to find a gallery who represent them, and they gonna define and regulate the art, because they gonna value your artwork, and they gonna put a price so they can sell it. And then you have to pretty much arrange with them and be kind of like exclusive artists for these galleries, and paint and produce your art in order for them to sell it with the exclusivity that they're gonna represent you. Or another ways, if you don't have a representative, you can be a freelance artist, and you pretty much gonna define the price of your art.
So does the gallery work? Is the gallery the agent for the artist?
It can be, yes, it can be. Or sometimes there are some artists who they just have an agent, and they just, they take care on where to marketing the art, pretty much, yeah.
Do you think the art is overrated in these days?
I will say yes and no, because a lot of times we just see the final product, and we just see the piece of art in the gallery or museum or wherever it's showing. But a lot of times you don't know all the work that is being involved in order to have the finished product in the gallery. So I'm not going to say it's overrated, but also I'm not going to say that it's true. I think it depends, because as an artist, I know you have to, it's a whole process in order to have a finished product. It can be in the museum or it can be in the gallery, but in order to have the piece, you already had put many hours, and also you involve a lot of people, like who's gonna come and take the picture, who's gonna deliver it, who's gonna take care of the paperwork, who's gonna do all that. And a lot of times we don't see that part. We just see the nice, or sometimes you think, oh, I don't think this piece of art is valued this much because whatever reason you put, but I don't think so. I think you just have to pretty much kind of like know a little bit what's behind the scenes in order to understand some of the art. Yeah.
That's a good point. I think people that think that art is overrated is because they don't see what is behind the work, right? Like as an artist, they just see the paint, or they just see if it's a dance, they just see the dance, they just see the last thing, the last work, but they don't see what's behind it. And that's a good point. And it's a good point to say that it's not overrated because of these reasons. And that's good and it's good that the people educate themselves about these things, so they now understand why is this value for this pain and whatever. That's a good point. And,
yeah, I think another example for this is social media. Social media, a lot of times, it can be friends, it can be co-workers, so it can be anybody who can judge your style of life just by social media. Well, because all they see that you visit different states, that you travel a lot, and you have nice pictures with all these interesting people and nice places. But it's not just that, all you see is kind of like the final piece of art. All you see is the final picture. How sometimes don't judge the picture or don't judge the painting just because you see the last final product. And I was talking about a perfect example is the pictures that you take as an artist, that you go and travel different states, different countries, but it's a lot of work behind the picture, it's not just the posing, and I try to tell young students, don't just let it go because you want to be in a nice places, that you want to know people. You need to take in consideration that it's a lot of work behind that, and it's not just that, just so they don't have the illusion that nobody told them that it was a hard work in order to be an artist.
One of the two last questions that I have for you today is, tell us a little bit about this current, like the last award nomination that you have. I'm so excited about it. But tell us a little bit about it. What is it? What's the way to be nominated? And everything about it. Tell us a little bit.
Well, last year when I was working in a big mural here in Durham, North Carolina, I had involved UNC TV, and my friend, he is in charge of making this program. It's called Moose. And Moose is a program where he focuses on artists, on nice artists, writers, singers. And he asked me, are you interested on making a story about your art and what you do? And I said, why not? Since we're going to be working and you're going to be documenting, we can just take advantage of the time and do this thing for what you do for the program. So we decided to do it. We did it all 2019. And 2020, in November, he called me and said, hey, we are nominated for an Emmy. And I say, what? I said, yeah, we are nominated on the 5 nominees for the Emmy. So anyway, he told me a little bit about it. What you have to do, they have to submit the video or the short documental, and they have to accept it. So it's a long process to do that. I don't know. He took care of all that. All he told me is the good news that we were among the 5 for the nomination. Well, this year in early February, they announced the, to be ready because we might be the winners, we might not. They put all this suspense on yes or not, and they just sent me the link because everything was virtual, and yeah, we won the Emmy. So it was pretty.
Congratulations.
and I was really emotional because for me, it was about what I've been painting. I do have a lot of narrative artwork, which tell the story about the immigration, about the immigrants, not just from Latin America, from all over the world. And it was well taken because it was well made. And it was in combination among my personal story, the story from all these millions of people that are here in the United States. And it talks about all the struggles, all the success, and all the stuff that is overlooked, that nobody is watching, nobody's paying attention. So yeah, that was a big surprise for us to be the winners. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations! And then I saw that there's the Mexican government give you like an award too. What is it about?
Okay, Mexico, they give 2 awards for Mexican citizens abroad, and one is called Mexican Distinguished in a different country, and also there is the Otley Award, and those are the 2 big awards that Mexico give to Mexican citizens who are living in another country. It can be here in the United States or it can be in Europe. So I guess they are pretty much, looking what I've been doing here in the United States. And not just in the United States, because through all my artist career, I've been in Latin America, Europe, Italy, showing my artwork and also talking about the issues about immigration. So for me, this was a surprise, that somebody finally is kind of like compensating all these 40 years of hard work that I've been giving to the community. So I'm very happy for that.
We are happy for you too, and we really appreciate your work, and you are an inspiration for a lot of people, a lot of artists that are trying to make it work in the States, that they probably went to your story. They have their story too. They went through all the process, and now you are the best example of success. So congratulations for the Emmy, for the award from the Mexican government. And it's really nice that you being in another country, your own country, they recognize and congratulate you for the work that you have been doing, especially because we know that your art is special, and it comes with all the Mexican symbols, all the Mexican culture, and you bring it to another country, and that's really good, and we're excited about it, and it's just a really good news that you got this award. So congratulations, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You are watching DNBC Business Channel.